Welcome back. We're going to continue on with our sweeps. This time we're going to sweep an I-beam down a couple of guide curves. We've not done that as of yet. We're still in inches, so even though it looks like some of this is in metric, believe it or not, this is going to be basically converted into feet. A lot of times when you take a look at an application such as this, if you look underneath an 18-wheeler trailer, they'll have a beam that is similar in nature, and we'll show you how to actually build that. So let's go ahead and get started. Our dimensions on this side are going to be pretty important to us. In this case, I'm going to create a couple sketches to control our ends. So plan for quite a few sketches. Let's create a new part. Please be in inch-pounds per second. Now, instead of starting out with an extrusion or revolve, we're going to start out with a sketch. So we're going to select sketch. It's going to ask what face or plane. We want the front plane. It's going to orient normal to us. I want to draw a couple of center lines, and I want to make sure that I click and hold down and then release so it terminates, then I can continue on with drawing center lines. So click, hold down, pull it vertically, release. Come to this side, click, hold down vertically, and release. Now, I want to add some relations to these because I don't really want to have to think about them. This is really for more of our modeling purposes in this learning lesson. So, adding relations, notice this last line over here, this baby blue one, it still is selected, so it's in the cache. So the other line that I would need to select would be this other vertical line. We want to make both of those, they have no existing relations to them right now, but we want to make both of those lines equal. Now, I don't have to get out of adding relations to move on to selecting something else. If I pick something completely independent of those two lines, I can actually move forward. This endpoint is a little bit different than the line itself, so I'm going to select this endpoint and this endpoint, and I want to make those two horizontal from one another. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on select something completely different. I'm going to select the point of origin and this left vertical line, and I want to make it midpoint. Now, with that, I need to add some dimensions. So, smart dimension, grab the leftmost vertical line. I would like for it to be 18 inches. And if memory serves me, I think it was 240 inches from the left side to the right side of our I-beams. So, one selection point, second selection, place it down, 240. We are now fully defined. Click out in the modeling space. Everything is black. Look down to the bottom right over here, and it is fully defined, so we can now exit the sketch. Now, after you exit the sketch, I want to make sure that you hit escape 1 or 2 times just to clear this out, because we're going to continue on with sketching, and we need to make sure that we have independent sketches. So we're going to come back to our sketch tab, select sketch. It's going to ask what plane we want to create it on. Mine are turned off normally. I want to come up and select the front plane. And now we are going to use a 3-point arc. We can drop this down. There's all sorts of different arcs. So 3-point arc. We want to make, I think, 3 selections. So 1 mouse click on that vertex, a second mouse click on this upper right vertex, and now I can drag this radius up or down whichever way that I want it. If you grab it over here to the end, it's kind of hard to control, but if you grab it more towards the center of the arc, it's a lot easier to control. So I want to place it here. So that was our 3-point radius. Then we need a smart dimension, and I'm going to pull it up and place it down, and to my knowledge it was 1000. This sketch is also, once we select out in the modeling space, this sketch is also fully defined. Look down here. So we are good to exit this sketch. Now when I just exit the sketch, notice how this line is still pretty dark and black, and the others are ghosted out. If I hit my escape key 1 time, that gets me out of that sketch altogether. If I'd have selected the sketch button, I would have gone back into it. But in this case, I want to draw my bottom profile of the I-beam. So we want to select the sketch icon. We're still going to be continuing on with the front plane. So we now have sketch 1 and sketch 2 that are above this line, and this sketch is what we're currently working on. This is the work in process. So let's come up and select a regular line. Come to this vertex, pull it down. I don't want it to snap horizontal. I'm just going to give it a little bit of an angle. You can exaggerate it if you need to. This one I do want horizontal, second mouse click, and we're going to terminate the sketch with the bottom vertex of our first sketch line. So we can associate this to other sketches, which makes life really easy. After we've done that, we would want to come up and select a smart dimension. So we got 48, 130, and 240 overall. We don't have to worry about the 240 because it's already determined by these two marks. So it's 175 degrees. So 130, 48, and 175. So smart dimension, I'm going to start with my smaller one first. So I'm going to grab that center horizontal line, 48. This next line. Now, if I pull it out like this, it gives me a parallel dimension. It's not what we want. That's not the way it's called out on our drawing. Pull it back into this quadrant. That is what we want because this is like a vertical. So just make sure that you pay attention to where you're placing it. You can mess your model up, even though the numbers are right. You're really not defined properly. So I'm going to place this down. So that's 130. And last but not least is going to be the angular dimension between these. So one mouse click on that line, second mouse click on that line. I'm going to pull it up and place it in this quadrant, and it is 175. Click out in the model space, and we are fully defined. We are also fully defined down here, so we are confident that we can exit this sketch as well. So I'm going to exit the sketch. Notice this one is completely black, and these are ghosted out. If I select the sketch again, it puts me back into that. So I want to make sure that I exit the sketch and that I hit escape a couple times. Alright, so the next sketch is the profile of the eye itself. So we want to select a sketch. It's going to ask us what face or plane. We want to select the right plane. So select the right plane and then Control 8. Now occasionally you can draw over here and it's going to become relatively complicated to keep all of these things separate in your mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a letter I out here to the side, just using a regular line, and I'm going to draw it like that. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add a few relations. So this line selected, I want to go ahead, because I didn't hit the escape button, so I want to select this vertical line, and this vertical line. I'd like to make those equal. Now I want to select this horizontal line, this horizontal line, this horizontal line, and this horizontal line, and make those equal. So now we got the eye shape pretty well buttoned up to help us keep it oriented when we start dimensioning. So I want us to come up and select the smart dimension. I'll look at this, and it's 10 inches wide, it's 1 inch here, and it's 2 inches over here. I don't have to worry about the overall height. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So 1, 2, and 10. So smart dimension, we have 1. Between here, we have 2. Up here, 10. Alright, so we'll roll out just a little bit. My middle mouse key is giving me fits, so I can take it and rotate it around like this. So we have our dimensions on here, but we don't have it related to these other sketches. So now what I want to do is I want to come up here to where it says display and delete relations. I want to drop that chevron down, and I want to actually add a relation. So there's no relation selected in our entities over here. So I want to pick this upper horizontal line, and now the end point of our first sketch, that, and I want to make it midpoint. Notice things are tying up over here. So now if I don't have to get out of adding relations, I can pick something completely independent of those two. So next I want to pick this bottom line and our bottom vertex, and I want to make those coincident. Click out in the model space, or accept it. Click out in the model space. Our sketch is fully defined, so we are ready to exit the sketch and accept that and move forward. Everybody click out in the modeling space again and Control 7. So this is what your sketch should look like. If it doesn't, we need to go back and make some corrections. We have 4 sketches, and 3 of them are going to be required for this. One of them was just put there for reference. Those center lines and construction lines are really helpful when you want to do something along these lines. So now we're done with the sketches. We come to our Features tab. We want to select the swept boss base. This is going to be a little different than the last time. So the profile we want is the letter I. So it goes and selects all of that. The path, I'm going to pick this bottom path to begin with. No particular reason why. And then options. I want to drop this down. Following path. I think that's correct. Guide curves. Now, our guide curve is going to be this upper arc that we drew. I do notice that I have something wrong right here. The end of it is not going all the way to the end, so it wasn't follow path. It is going to be keep normal to constant. And now we have an I-beam that is extruded all the way, or swept all the way down. So accept that. Take a look at your model, roll it around, Control 7, and we want to save this as the proper naming convention and submit that in your LMS.